Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Mary, seat of wisdom,
Pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
So this morning we begin to study the third operation of the human mind. The first was the simple apprehension, simple catching, grasping what is a thing. And the result of that first operation was the concept. So now if we put together many concepts with another concept, and we unite them, we have a judgment. We put a predicate with a subject. We saw that last week. The judgment is the the synthesis of concepts together. Now, to affirm that the predicate is united to a subject, we must have a reason. When you were 8 years old, maybe a morning you say, "Oh, mother, I am sick." Of school, of course. I am sick, so I cannot go to school. And your mother, what did your mother say? Why? Why are you sick? What is the cause of you? What is the reason you can say you are sick? So she use a thermometer and say, go to school. Or call the doctor, depending on the result of the thermometer. So that means we affirm, every time we affirm something, we make a judgment, we must have a reason. Reason, the verb is reasoning. So that means our judgment are the fruit of reasoning. Reasoning or direct intuition. So we study that. So the first thing is to know what are the things. And in regard of the first operation, that means the knowledge of things, there is infinite possibility. We never stop knowing. We never stop receiving experience, sensation. So all the time we can know and know and know. And when there is no limit to our knowledge. Of course, we cannot know who is God perfectly, but we know at least He exists. For someone, they don't know that. Now, we have to we put our concept together. We have the possibility to unite them because we reflect. So judging is the fruit of reflection. Judging, we saw that last class, is the fruit of reflection. Not only we know the concept, but we are able to go higher than that and to unite them, to reflect on those concepts we have and compare those concepts with the reality. Judgment is always linked with the reality. A judgment has a value only if it corresponds to the reality. And what is the correspondence of a judgment to the reality? We call that truth. Truth. Now, we just see that we cannot have a judgment without some reason why. Some reason why we affirm. It is what we are studying now, this morning. How we can arrive to form a judgment. So it is because reasoning. So you go to page 35. So to reason, what we do? When we affirm something now, I affirm something now because I had that before. So I start from my past experience, or if you want, I start from what is unknown, my past, what is known, and to the something, a new situation, a new problem, to the unknown. That is reasoning. We start from a fact of the past, experience of the past, And we try from that experience to arrive to a new knowledge, a new affirmation. That is reasoning. It's the passage from the known to the unknown. And the problem is how we do that passage, how we reason. Okay? So if you go to nature of reasoning, number 4, it is in fact, reasoning, it is a synthesis of knowledge. We may put together many knowledge, many things we know. Well, I give you an example, and we start from that example to understand. I say, all men are mortal. Dictators are men. Conclusion, dictators are mortal. What is the final judgment? The final judgment is dictators are mortal. But to affirm that dictators are mortal, I must use other precedent knowledge. What are the knowledge I know? I know that first, all men are mortal. So of course, we are not dead, but we are mortal. It's different, I hope. We are mortal, but we are not dead. But we know because we are embodied in a mortal body, but we will die. We know also through experiences that dictators are men. They are not angels. They are not devil. They are men. So it is two judgment, two certitude, two sure knowledge I have. I have the knowledge that mortality is for everyone. That is a universal reality. Yeah? Nobody can say I am immortal. No. Even Lenin in Moscow, he is not immortal. He keep his body in a refrigerator, but he's not immortal. All men are mortal. I know also that dictators are men. And conclusion, I'm sure any dictator will die. Well, that is, it is a union of known, we know something and we go to another thing. And I cannot say otherwise. I cannot affirm another thing. Can you affirm from that dictators are not mortal? No. It is necessary. The conclusion, that is very important. The conclusion and the judgment, because a conclusion is a judgment, follows necessarily from the premises. So here we call that the two first, here we call that premises. Those who study logic, you know that. Premises that we put before, premises. And the first is the major with general principle, the second is the minor, and the last is the conclusion. Okay? So that we call that a syllogism. Syllogism. It's interesting. Syllogism from the Greek comes from the Greek sun. Sun, sin. Sin, we mean together, symphony. Put many songs together. Synthesis, for putting many affirmations together. Sin logic, to put many idea, many affirmations together. Syllogism. Okay? So, what is the link between the premises and the conclusion? That link, we don't see that. Where is that link? It is here. You cannot say other thing than that affirmation. If you say other thing, if you say, for example, all men are mortal, dictators are mortal, therefore, President of the United States are mortal. No, that is not true. It's not correct. You know what is the strength of that here there is a logical link which indicates the necessity of the conclusion. The conclusion is necessary. In that logical link, we call that inference. In fact, the inference is the logical link. That link makes the validity, the solidity of the conclusion. In fact, we have words. We have words here. But here we have a link. That inference, nobody sees that. You know, when Archimedes discovered the law of hydrostatic, did he see the law of hydrostatic? No, it was here. He had an insight. But the insight in syllogism, we call that inference. And that is, you catch it or you don't catch it. 1 or 0. That is the necessary link. Okay. So, and what will you remark? The conclusion is a synthesis of the terms which are before. So, when I reason, I make a synthesis of many experiences, many affirmations to arrive at a conclusion. Well, an example of that is a trial. Well, somebody is accused to have killed. Okay? So, what is the trial? The trial is a demonstration. But what is a demonstration? A demonstration is a series of syllogisms. We try to prove. So the conclusion, John is guilty or John is not guilty, is flowing from all that process, flowing from the demonstration. So, but in a necessary. That means the conclusion must be that is or is not. Not it may be, no. It's not possibility, it's not contingency, it is necessity. And because of that, we can attain the truth. We attain the truth only when it is necessary. The conclusion comes in a necessary way. Otherwise, if it is only maybe, you know, the judge say, okay, maybe Simpson, you know Simpson? No, not Simpson in the movie. O.J. Simpson. Maybe O.J. Simpson is innocent, maybe. So, okay, go in peace. Never a judge say that. Never. He will say, he is innocent, or he is guilty. Finish. Why? Because the conclusion must be necessary. If everything is true and valid, the conclusion must be necessary. Therefore, must be in a relation with the reality, must be true also. So here it is interesting. We are in truth. The reasoning itself must lead us to the truth. Because the conclusion has no value if there is no truth. In fact, the conclusion is a judgment. Okay. Page 16. I go to number 5. Reasoning and logic. So it's a connecting of reasons, of ideas. I unite many reasons. Here you have a simple syllogism. Sometimes the syllogism is very complex. Many. The conclusion of one becomes the beginning of another reasoning, another reasoning. It is the way sciences progress. Sciences progress from demonstration to demonstration to demonstration, and little by little we progress in knowledge. So I explained already that the proposition. You know the difference between a judgment and a proposition. The proposition is the oral or written express of the judgment. Okay, so the proposition which express the universal reality is the major. The proposition applied to a particular case is the minor, and the fruit of that synthesis is the conclusion. But here, so those who study logic will be sweet memories. So we have the subject of the conclusion and the predicate. Of course, the dictator is the subject, and mortal is the predicate. And how I can affirm that dictators are mortal? What is the bridge? The reason why I can affirm them, it is because they are men. And that we call that middle term. So the middle term is the bridge, is the link, allowing us to affirm that that mortality, the predicate mortality, is attributable to dictator. So remember that. And in fact, the pivot of a syllogism, of a reasoning, is the middle term. In fact, what is the middle term? It is the proof, the center. If the middle term indicate me that there is no link, I will have a negation. I will say dictators are not mortal. If the middle term affirm there is a link, I will affirm that. And my conclusion follow necessarily from the two premises. Okay? Here we have an example. All living things are corruptible. You know? All animals are living. Therefore, all animals are corruptible. So we start from a universal idea. You apply that continually. I give you a concrete example. Well, you prepare a meal. You know that meat must be cooked. You know that meat must be cooked if you want to avoid some, to contract some diseases. That is universal principle. Is the reason why Muslims and Jews don't eat pig, pork, because they realized through centuries that animal give them some diseases. So they say, no pork. So what is the general principle? Every meat before being eaten must be cooked. And now you have a steak. What do? You put the steak directly and you give that to the people? No, you cook. Why? Because a steak is a meat and meat must be cooked. So, in fact, you know, I thought yesterday, last class, I said we reflect continually, we judge continually. But if we judge continually, why? Because continually we are reasoning. Is the reason why Aristotle called them a rational animal. Because it is our essence to reason. Of that, of course, we don't express that, but it is present in your mind when you act. We have a lot of, we apply continually in our life universal principle. Well, another example, this morning, when you wake up, well, maybe you took a shower, or you wash your hand and your face to be awakened a little bit. What is the principle under that? It is hygiene, hygiene principle. Well, and now you apply that to yourself. We are continually doing that. We are reason, we are judging. Why? So I told you we are judging machine. Why? Because we are reasoning machine. Continually, our computer is functioning. Is the reason why we need to sleep 8 hours because he is tired. It is tired. Think about that. We cannot affirm anything without a kind of demonstration or of having a reason. Because we have two ways of affirming something. We have a way without reasoning, we call that intuition. Intuition. We already saw that. Do you reason to affirm that I am here? No. But I am here. You can say Father Michel is in the classroom. You can say that. Okay? And the other way, it is through syllogism. You arrive in your kitchen and you see milk on the floor. So what is the question? Who or why? Why there is milk on the floor? So you are searching for a reason. It's not intuition. If you arrive in the kitchen and you see your cat licking the milk on the floor, you say, maybe it is, maybe it's not him, maybe it's another person who, you know. So you reason. But if you see somebody killing another, he is in front of you, kill. That is intuition. And when you see to the judge, these men kill, it is directly by intuition, directly. But many of our affirmations come from reasoning. Huh? When you study, you say, okay, tonight I want to study. What is the general principle you applied? Every student who wants to succeed, to understand, must study. Therefore, I sit down, I put glue on my chair, and I study. Yeah. What I want to stress here, I want to stress that if we study the operation of the mind separately, in fact, they are one in your reality. I can distinguish to unite. Huh? And we try as philosophers to find not only a description, but we want to find a causality. Here, for example, we have a case of causality. My judgment is caused by what I already know. It's not only a succession of affirmation. What is philosophy? It is the search for the ultimate causes. We try to explain the reality at the beginning, at the end, and between. That is philosophy. And when we reason, not only we have to describe, we have to find the causality. Okay? If you study mathematics, probably the teacher will never speak about inference. But when you make a problem in mathematics, very simple, for example, A plus B, A equal B, and B equals C, what will you answer? A equal C. But in fact, you did an inference. It cannot be otherwise. There is a link of causality, necessary causality. Okay? Next page 37. So the link is necessary, a necessary relationship. And the word necessary is very important because it is necessary. I can trust my conclusion. My conclusion can be true, can be valid, and can be true. Okay? And that leads us to evidence. When I can conclude with certitude to conclude something, that conclusion becomes for me an evidence. And evidence is the starting point of truth, of knowledge. When you cook your meal, your steak before eating a meal, you use a conclusion, I must cook that. That for you, it is evident. You don't say, maybe I should cook my meal. Oh, it's possible. No, you say, I have to cook. Because you follow a reasoning, and the inference make you, in such a way, you have no choice. There is no freedom here. We have no freedom in front of the truth. We have no freedom in front of the truth. The truth, when it is evident, obvious, the truth is obliging you to adhere. If you don't adhere, you are a liar, or you are a skeptic, or you are in error, because sometimes we think we are with the truth, we are not, because we don't use, for example, the good word, right word to express what we know, or we think we know. Sometimes that happens in mathematics. When you teach mathematics or science, physics, you give a problem to your student, and they are sure it is that. They're sure. But you, the teacher, you are sure it's not that. So they are sure, but in fact, the conclusion here is not evident. It is evident for them, it's not truly evident in itself. So we have to, why they are wrong? Because there is some mistake in the reason. In fact, mathematics is the same. When you work in mathematics and physics, you apply exactly the same thing. You reason. You have premises, and you arrive to a conclusion. You know, when I was teaching that arithmetic in primary school in Montreal, we were obliged all the time when we taught arithmetic for examination at the end of the year and during the year from the government, the student was obliged to answer in two parts. To give here his calculation and here the reasoning. Why he did that? Because it is easy if you have good eyes to catch the answer of the neighbor. Or by chance you arrive to the... So sometimes it's funny, it was funny because they have the right answer, but the reasoning was impossible, you know. So they have the good answer, but the inference was not. So the zero. Okay. I come to the text here. So reasoning, number 6, is crucial to human. It is the formal activity of man. The specific. What is the specific difference of man? Rational, reasoning. God does not reason because he cannot pass from potency to act. He cannot pass from the known to the unknown. He knows everything. But we are passing from the known to the unknown, from potency to act, capacity to know, to the fact of knowing. It is crucial. It is in our essence. It is essential for man to reason. It is our definition. It is our nature. And when we want to say, when we want to express that a boy, a girl become able to take their responsibility, we say they are reasonable. They can use their reason. They can do their first communion. Okay. Now, another thing also here, reasoning answer to a need we have. We have a need as a human being, a need of unity. Unified thing. But we are filled with many experiences. We have saw that sense experiences, and internal experiences, imagination, memory, and we will see soon the experience of freedom, the experience of emotion. So we have a lot of things, but we try already all the time. We unify that in I, in I. If you don't do that, there is a big problem. You are a schizophrenic, because the schizophrenic is not able to unify. He has 2 eyes, or 3 eyes, or 4 eyes. But a normal person try to unify. And what is the fruit of the unifying many reasoning, many affirmation together? The fruit of that is the conclusion. And the way to do that is to reason. Reasoning is essentially an effort to unify. It is the same when you study in physics. You have many experiences, you have multiple experiences, and finally you try to find a unique formula for that. You try to unify. How you can do that? Through reasoning. You reason on the many experiences. We call that induction. And when you apply, you cook your meat, your steak, you make a deduction. A deduction, because you apply a universal principle to a special case. But before that, for millions of years, we think maybe man exists for 3 million years. Our ancestors, cavemen, cavewomen, at the beginning they ate like animals. They finally, little by little, they discover fire and they begin to cook, and they see, hey, when I cook, I am not sick, or my son is not sick. So they arrive to a universal principle, and now the whole world now cook. They are very rare, the culture, they don't cook, but they eat. It is a universal principle. And now, everywhere, in Africa, in Asia, in Cameroon, in Canada, when a person, a mother, cooks the meat, she is applying a universal principle. In fact, it is a deduction. When you wash your hand not to kill germs, it is a deduction. But to arrive to affirm that, we must have a scientist who is called Pasteur. Pasteur. And Pasteur is the one who discovered that, the germs. Oui, Pasteur, a Frenchman. Huh? He was, by the way, he was a great Catholic. Huh? That is interesting. Sometimes they say scientists cannot be believers. Oui, Pasteur was a great Catholic. He's told that he said his rosary every day. Well, that is not a philosophy. Huh? It's only a parenthesis to show that science can fit with faith. Huh? Because there's a theory today of science that cannot be. Branly, for example. Branly, the one who discovered before Marconi. We attribute radiophony to Marconi, but in fact the one who is the first to send waves, it is Branly. Branly was a teacher at Université Catholique de Paris, Catholic University of Paris. He was a good Catholic. He was a believer. So that's interesting not to say, a scientist cannot be a believer. Okay, I close the parenthesis. I go to next page, page 38. So, when we describe the way we know since 2-3 weeks, in fact, since the beginning of the semester, we proceeded two ways. I did not insist on that, but I have to say that. In fact, we described a phenomenon. We describe the phenomenon. And after that, we try to explain the phenomenon. So, first we describe the phenomenon. And to describe the phenomenon, phenomenology. Phenomenon. That means what falls on our senses. Okay? We describe that. There's a lot with Father Reichmann. I gave you a lot of example, but we did not stay there. What we tried to find a cause of that. So we pass from the level of phenomenology to the level of metaphysics, philosophy. In fact, the approach of the difference between phenomenology and philosophy or metaphysics, because phenomenology is philosophy, is here we only describe without explaining causality. The proper of philosophy is to study the causality, the link of causality between an event and the other. Not only to describe, but to prove that there is a link, a necessary link between those. So phenomenology was very popular in the 20th century, and it was very well accepted. Why? Because it's not too difficult to accept a description of a phenomenon. What is difficult is to accept the explanation through the causality. Because in fact, if you accept the explanation through the causality, and you go to the finite cause, you will arrive to that, So that is the difference. Some philosophers, we call philosophers, they are only phenomenologists. They describe very well, but they don't take a position in regard of causality. Because to take a position in regard of causality has great consequences. Because we act according to what we know. So, if we arrive to, if we follow, we can arrive to God. That's it. In fact, we arrive to God because in philosophy we study philosophy of God. We arrive to God. But in phenomenology, we don't take care of that. We describe. Description excellent, necessary, but not complete. And not compromising also. Okay? Not committing to something. So the goal of reasoning, why we reason, manner to arrive at a conclusion, it is to progress. We reason to progress. In fact, what I told you last time, we cannot make a judgment without reflecting. What is a reasoning? It's a series of judgment. Therefore, it's a series of reflection. To reason is essentially to use my power of reflection. Not only I know what are the thing, but I go further. Not only I describe the thing, I want to go beyond. You know, Kant. Kant, a great philosopher, German philosopher, he said, we can know only phenomena, only that, because we cannot know what is behind. We cannot know the noumena. That is, for us, what is the noumena behind a thing? What is the noumena? The substance. So we see the nine, we can describe the 9 categories, but we cannot describe the substance. And to arrive to the substance, you must go to the level of metaphysics, to the level of being, or level of causality. And the first reality is to exist, to be, to exist. Okay. So we see here 7.1. Reasoning is merely propedeutic, a necessary preparation to understand. In fact, there is no judgment without a reason for affirming. That means reasoning or intuition, but most of the time we don't have a direct intuition. So reasoning is the necessary preparation to arrive to a right judgment, a correct judgment. Okay, level 7.4. In fact, the drive toward unity and synthesis is never finished. Why is never finished? Because continually we have new experiences. I cannot say, in the past they say 3 years of class will be enough. In 1881, in France, la loi Fauré law obliged all children to go to school 3 years. Because at that time the judges that in 3 years it was enough to read, to write, and to reckon, to calculate, the 3 R. Enough. But who today is satisfied with 3 years of school? No. You have to go to 19 years for a doctorate. So that means why? Because continually we are confronted to new experiences, to new situations. And because of that, look at a good example of that is science and pharmaceutical product and medicine. Well, in 1965, nobody knew about AIDS. But a phenomenon happened in Uganda, and now obliged, and that phenomenon went to Central Africa, to many countries, finally to the United States. Oh, now what is that, Because of the event, we are obliged to reason, to search. And now we have another problem, Ebola, It probably in a few years another problem also, So continually we are confronted to new situations, so we have to reason. In fact, we have to adapt. Why man is able to live everywhere on earth? Because he is able to reason. We are adaptable to any circumstances, any climate, because we reason. We can go to the moon. 50 years ago, nobody, of course we dreamt to go to the moon. Nobody will say seriously we go to the moon. We went to the moon. So pourquoi? Because we are able to reason, we are able to demonstrate. We are not never satisfied. The first computer, when I bought my Macintosh, 514 kilobytes. When I bought, the dealer said that, Father, that is the Cadillac of computer, 1985. And I bought that $3,000. Imagine 500 kilobytes. It's nothing. It's the half of a floppy disk. But at that time it was a marvel, so we can say, let us stop here now and use only Apple Macintosh. No, continue. And we have Windows 95, Windows 98, and XP, and Windows 7, and Windows 8. We never finish. No? An iPad. Watch and watch. We are, because we are confronted to new situation, because we reason, so continually we can pass from what we know to something we don't know. It is the way we progress. We progress. It is only men who can do that. Can your cat do that? Bees are wonderful. Bees are wonderful, but bees are very good in geometry only for one thing. They can make a perfect hexagon. But only that. They cannot make a circle, they cannot make a square. But only that. I give you a paper, write me an hexagon. Nobody here can do an hexagon. Perfect. I guarantee not a single among us can write perfectly an hexagon. And the bee, without studying mathematics, does that. But only that. In 3,000 years, according to the document we have, it was the same. It will be the same. Man can progress. Why? He can read rational animal. Okay? And that we cannot stop that. You know, when Ford made his first car, it was a marvel. Imagine a marvel. We don't need a horse. The horse now is not in front of the car. The horse is in the car. Horsepower. Yeah. And it was a marvel. Did we stay there? No. And we don't stay there, we progress. We are never satisfied. Never satisfied. This is proof we are made for higher than what we are. St. Augustine discovered that. If we reason on that appetite of man to progress, to know better, to live better, because he is never satisfied, that must be only something able to satisfy him. It will be the infinite. It is a proof of the existence of God. We call the moral proof. The moral proof. That means nothing on earth, even if I give you a mountain of gold, you will not be satisfied. Why? Because you know you will die. And only the thought of death is destroying your temporal happiness. It is the reading of the Mass this morning. Vanity of vanity, everything is vanity. Even Mr. What is that man is very Buffett. Mr. Buffett is a nice man. Mr. Buffett. But he is 68. Probably in 20 years he will not here to enjoy his money. There is no perfect happiness. So we are not satisfied on earth. There must be something. Okay? It's the same for the intellect. It's a proof that we are open to the infinite. My stomach is finite. My mind is not satisfied. I cannot accuse myself for intellectual gluttony. I cannot say I am an intellectual glutton. No. A glutton it is. Okay? Okay, now number 8, page 40. Thinking is imperfect reasoning. Oh, as imperfect reasoning. No, not is, as. So that means thinking, we don't think all the time correctly. We can make mistakes. I can be a pilot of a plane. I can also even if I have a diploma, I am very good. I can make some mistake, some error. Okay? So not every act of reasoning results in new knowledge. And that is the thing we call trial. We progress through trial and error. For example, detectives are searching for the criminal. Well, they take a path, a direction, and they realize that is not the good one. They try another one, not the good one. Finally, they try the good one here. You know, science, medicine, all those progress through effort and error. The reason, the conclusion is not good. Why? Because it does not correspond to the reality. That means in science, for example, in pharmaceutical product, they arrive a conclusion that pill should be good to such a disease. What they do, they experiment. And after that, they realize it's not good. So their reasoning was not good. So they try another thing. Sometimes they take vaccine against malaria, for example. You know, malaria is the most dangerous disease on earth. It's not AIDS, it's malaria. Malaria kills the more people in the world every year because it attacks the part of the earth where it is the most populated along the equator. But there is no vaccine against malaria. Why? No. There are many hypotheses. I don't want to enter in the, you know. But I'm sure some companies, they try. They have not success. Maybe a day they will have a success. It's the same for AIDS. You know, our human efforts are not automatically recompensed. We have in mathematics, you try a way to answer a problem is not the good one. You change, you go to another one. You know, it's the same when you want to heal somebody. You know? Your mother try a certain remedy to help you. No, the day after she try another one. You know, so that is the way we proceed. Not every reasoning leads to certitude, to a valid conclusion. Not every effort of man leads to truth. And sometimes we have sincere in our efforts, but we arrive to a falsity. A falsity. Okay? So a reasoning, on the first level, here you have that here, at the middle of the page. Reasoning at the first level is simply the mind in its natural restless state of seeking new understanding. That is, for example, we reason. There are two kinds of reasoning. We have what we say here, we call that categorical reasoning. Syllogism. We proceed by affirmation. That means every affirmation is true. So we affirm, and conclusion is necessarily true. Okay? But there is another way of reasoning. It is hypothetical. If P, then Q. If P, then Q. If you eat your soup, you will have ice cream. We go to Dairy Queen. You eat your soup, okay, we go to Dairy Queen. That reasoning is conditional. So the conclusion is not certain. Depends on what happened. In fact, science is based majority of the time on that. A large part of science is based on hypothesis. And hypothesis, when it is verified, can become a universal principle. I give you a simple example. Aspirin. Aspirin. I hope you don't need that after my class. You know what is aspirin? Okay. Well, that takes many years to discover all the benefits of aspirin, or the effect of aspirin. Now, because of a long verification, we start from the hypothetical reasoning to a categorical reasoning. And now we can say with certitude, if you have a headache, take aspirin. You have a little problem, take aspirin. Okay. But on the back, it says, if you have that, if you have that, if you have that, if you have that, don't take aspirin. But anyway, we can arrive to a certain certitude. Because we have a certain certitude, we cannot apply that to particular cases. So your mother never studied medicine, never studied maybe biology, but she knows when you have a problem, a fever, she will take aspirin or Tylenol. It's not necessary to be a nurse for that. Then what do you do at that time? You apply a universal idea, affirmation, but that universal idea comes from a series of verification of hypotheses. So in fact, we work with both. And that is reasoning. It's reasoning. That other is the difference here. The conclusion here is conditional. It's not absolutely certain. Here the conclusion is certain. So that means here the conclusion will be true as long as it is not proved that is not valid. No? Okay? For million of years, man believed that the earth was flat, no? But for 400 years, now we know no, the earth is not flat, it is round. But for many years, it was the certitude that the earth was flat. And we interpreted everything. We put column in the Bible, the column, the foundation of the earth. You know. Okay, thinking is a perfect reasoning. Page 41. Number 3. Reasoning that does not lead to a true conclusion. That means I can make effort. I can be very attentive, but my conclusion in mathematics, for example, when I give an examination to my student in mathematics, in algebra, I give an exam. I am sure everyone wants to have the right answer. No? Not a single student in my class is so stupid to say, with purpose, I will give the wrong answer. I never saw that in 50 years, in 60 years. But what I saw, even in spite of their sensitivity and the desire for truth, not everyone has the truth on his paper, the right answer, you know. That means sometimes our reasoning is falsified because we don't observe the law of reasoning. And those who studied with me last year, those, we call that fallacy. They are fallacy. We think it is a good reasoning, but in fact we make some mistake. I don't have to explain that, but mistake because of incorrection in the process itself, or also because of prejudices or passion. Can change my judgment. But in fact, reasoning implies an effort. Of course, sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it's very difficult. Think about your examination of algebra, mathematics. You have to reason. Philosophy, it's very easy. But in fact, to discover the truth implies a combat, implies a struggle, implies an effort. We cannot arrive to the truth only opening our mouth and our ears. Reasoning, strictly speaking, require attention, effort, concentration, to find. In fact, the word expressing all that is the word discourse. Reasoning is a discourse. What is discourse? It is to run. A course is to run through. To run through. Discourse, the reasoning demonstrating it is like a runner, making an effort tending toward the truth. And sometimes that takes years for that. In science, it takes years before knowing finally what is the authentic, the truth. Okay? Another thing also, 4.3 on page 42. In fact, when we affirm something, it's not enough to affirm, to reason. We have continually to refer to the reality. Because every judgment we saw that last class, is true, is a value only if it fits with the reality. So my reasoning will be valid, will be true, arrive to a true conclusion if at every step of my reasoning that what I affirm correspond to the reality. That means is true. I cannot arrive to a true conclusion if one of my reasoning is not true. So that means reasoning obliges you to consider to the reality, to reflect between what you think and what it is in the reality. Of course, we don't do that expressly, but in fact we do that. An affirmation cannot be true if there is no link with the reality, because truth essentially is the link between your mind and the reality, the conformity of your mind and the reality. Okay, number 5, on some proposition cannot be judgment. It's not because I say something, I affirm something that is a judgment. If I say gold is edible, gold is edible. What is the meaning? We can eat gold. I can say that. I can say that. It's a proposition, but is it a true proposition? Why? Because it does not fit with the reality, does not correspond to the reality. So it's not because someone, that is very important, it is not because someone affirms something that it is true. Even he affirmed that with force or with beautiful. In fact, advertising is that problem. Advertising, they try to seduce you. The majority of advertising are not true. They are partially true. They are always better than the other product. They are always the best, And they take 2-3% to say they are satisfied, but it is a false induction. Okay, so to affirm something is not enough. You go in court and you affirm something under oath, but you have to prove that after. You will sit down and now the lawyer will question you. You have to prove what you affirm. Okay? Now, page 43, probable judgment. No. Some judgment, especially hypothetical judgment, lead us to probability. In fact, can we know with certitude the future? No. So, what we can affirm of the future is probable. Of course, I can say tomorrow it will be Saturday. But even that, it cannot be true, because if you die today, for you, tomorrow will not be Saturday, it will be eternity. So, when you plan for the future, when you think for the future, when you affirm for the future, it is always conditional. You send your invitation for your ordination, you say, or your marriage, you say, and maybe 2 days before you have a car accident and you die. That happened. So the future is always probable. We can affirm with certitude. But there is proposition. I can say a proposition for the future. I can say tomorrow we will have a beautiful weather, and the day after we have rain. That happened many times with the weather. They announce, and we don't have what. I remember here we had a year. They announced a huge storm, the storm of the century, and nothing, a single flake fall down. No? And I went to see the mass in Chester on the morning, and all the plow were along there with the yellow and waiting for the snow. Okay, probable judgment. I go to page 44. So in fact, probability, hypothesis. What is the word hypothesis in English? It is supposition. The same thing, supposition. It is a supposition. Hypothesis is snob word to say supposition. I suppose. Hypothesis. I suppose that is vulgar, but it's the same thing. Hypothesis, to put under the same meaning. Okay? So we cannot arrive to certitude through the supposition, through hypothesis. For example, the polls, election. They predict that last week we have the referendum in Scotland. Will the Scots will continue to be attached to the Queen of England, or they will be detached from their gracious Queen? So they have to make a choice. And the poll says it will be very, very tight. They were not able to affirm what will happen. And then at the end, it was not long. During the night, they say 55 to 45. That means we cannot know the future. In Quebec, we have an election 2 years ago, and we have 4 parties. So the third party here was the Liberal Party, and they were said they have no chance at all to be elected. What happened? They were elected with a total majority of the vote. Total majority, and the other are only a few. And the poll said, we cannot trust the poll. But what is dangerous, many people, they vote according to the poll. Someone say, I never lost an election. I always win. Because they have no choice. They say, who will win according to, okay, they vote in the sense of the win. So some people, that is not very good democracy. Now, error. How we can have error? So we have that on page 45. Error is a fact, and the consequence of that for many people, they say, if error exists, therefore I cannot trust my knowledge, therefore I am a skeptic. I cannot arrive to know the truth because there is error. It is that. Is it because someone are sick that you are necessarily sick? It is because some error exists that there is no possibility of truth. No, anyway, those skeptics, when they took their wallet or they are in front of a lion, they don't believe it is the appearance of lion. Because a skeptic, they say maybe it's an appearance of lions. An appearance. But when they are there, a lion is there, or a snake in their bed, it's not an appearance. So, in fact, to be skeptic, I say it is an act of the will. It's an act of the will. You deny your own experience. It's a choice. It's a kind of dogmatism. By will, by dogma, I am a skeptic. It is what did Mr. Legault, metaphysical doubt, metaphysical doubt, to doubt of everything. Okay. So the argument against skepticism, you have many here. In fact, what makes our certitude in our knowledge? What makes it is our direct contact with the reality. Don't forget, we are in an objective approach of the truth of knowledge. So, in our sense knowledge put us in contact direct with the reality, and everything pass through our sense knowledge. Don't forget that. Nihil in intellectu nisi prior in sensu. Nothing in my mind first is not in my senses. Even my knowledge of God passes through my senses. Yes, brother.
Father, what's the difference? Because earlier in the semester you said that we should never accept anything that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And then what's the difference between that and skepticism?
Okay. In fact, skeptic is a one who does not trust the capacity of his mind to know the truth. Okay?
Oh, okay.
You say, because there is an error in the world, I cannot accept that. It is not because people kill babies in the womb of their mother that I say I'm not sure that we must respect life. We cannot start from error to affirm that truth does not exist.
Okay.
In fact, the existence of error is not enough, is not a reason to deny the truth, no?
Yeah.
Suppose you have a toothache. It is a reason to say that because you have toothache, the other are all bad teeth. It is a little bit the situation of some skeptic. Huh? Or those who don't believe in God because there is suffering, yes, but there is also so good. Huh? So, there is a part of subjectivism, a will, I will say a will to be skeptic. Because when they eat their chocolate, they don't eat, maybe it is plastic chocolate, no. And if they go to the store and they ask for 2 pounds of steak, they will not accept 2 pounds of fish. Maybe if they are skeptic, they should say maybe it is the appearance of fish, but it is meat. No. In fact, I go further, I can say a real skeptic for me is a schizophrenic. He's a schizophrenic. Because a part of his life he believes, the other part of his life he does not believe. He is divided between certitude and non-certitude. That means he trusts a part of his experience, he trusts his senses, but a part of the experience he does not trust his senses. He trusts his senses when he eats. He asks his wife, I want to eat pea soup, and she prepares carrot soup, cabbage soup. He said, no, it's not what. No, he is sure that is not what he asked from his wife. But why? Another thing, they are skeptic on some matter like the extent of God, the creation, or even the value of their knowledge, sense knowledge. Okay?
Thank you, Father.
I go to, so why we have error? Because we have, first, the error can come from our senses because they are not in good health. Huh? For example, in my eye, now I have a problem since many years. When I see something twisted like that, I see like that. Because I have a wrinkle on my retina. I know that. No, I correct. When I see the pole here in front of the seminary, here, I see that like that. I don't go to Mr. Armand. I say, hey, correct the pole, huh? No, I know. I can control my knowledge, my sense knowledge. Huh? Error can be caused also by distraction, lack of attention. Huh? Error can be caused also by prejudices, by emotion, by passion. Prejudices are very important. Huh? They can change the value of our judgment. He is my friend. Is the reason why it is the I have a cousin, he was an anesthetist, and one of my sisters, the last one, broke her leg skiing in the mountain, so she was carried to the hospital, and by accident it is my cousin who was the anesthetist. And when you look at he said, Daniel, a daughter of Yvette Berthiaud, yeah, he was, in fact, he realized that my sister was her first cousin. So he said, say nothing, huh? Because I'm not supposed to, because of the length of relation, huh? Family. So, we are influenced by our love. We are influenced by our prejudices. If we love someone and somebody says something wrong about that person, immediately you say, maybe it's not true, huh? So our emotion, our will, fanatism is there. And those who continue to affirm that there is a group of people on earth, they affirm that the earth is flat. Huh? They affirm that exists. Huh? They affirm that they don't want, because they decide the earth is flat. I can't decide that you are not here. But I know you are here. I can affirm the contrary. Okay? Yes, that's in the gospel. How many times people deny the truth? when they said to Jesus, you expel the demon, you expel Beelzebul by using Beelzebul, you know. They have, the Bible says they have eye, but they don't see. In fact, they don't want to see. They have ear, they don't want to hear, you know. And that influence, huh? So you have psychological and moral reasons sometimes to change affect our judgment, affect our reasoning. Huh? We see only the beautiful thing, we don't see the negative thing, for example. Huh? Oh, okay, I explained that, page 48. A mere affirmation is not a judgment. We spoke about that already. Now, diversity of knowledge, page 49. Well, the knowledge among individuals varies greatly. Huh? In fact, not everyone has the same IQ. Huh? Not everyone has the same intellectual quotient, IQ. Some they are very fast to understand, others are very slow. So that is the reason why we don't have the same power of reasoning. When we teach mathematics in the class, it's clear that not every student has the same IQ. Someone, they have the answer almost before you finish the question, and the other, they cannot answer at all. Huh? Okay? Now, number 6 at the middle of the page. Every authentic response to a question invites future questions. In fact, when you are answering a question, only the fact you are answering that question provokes other questions. And when you touch a problem, that provoke other. We see that in class, for example. You teach about a subject, and what the teacher says to you makes you think about other thing. And the student raise their hand, they ask questions for other thing. You know? It is the same in conversation. When you talk with somebody, it's the same thing. Huh? You think, you speak about something, and suddenly what the others say provoke a question or remind you another fact. You know? Okay? So I encourage you to read the summary. As Father Reichmann is a teacher. He's a good teacher, and he prepared a good summary for every chapter. I think that is at least that the essential. Huh? His summary is very, very well done. Huh? And also, he gives you a series of definitions. So I think we should use that. Huh? You cannot retain everything I told you. You cannot retain everything Father Reichmann writes. But at least master very well the summary and the commentary. Don't forget, if you have cards, continue to play cards. Huh? That means to have a concept and write the definition. That is like that. We have that, brother? Show that to the student. Play cards, not and you can play that with money if you want. You can say 5 cents to sister if she answers well. Okay, have a good weekend.
Thank you, Father. You too.
So we begin next week, language. Language. And I will give you probably the week after the take-home.